OpenAI's new O1 model is slower on purpose. A new report raises concerns about the future of NASA. And Unity dumps the runtime fee that caused a developer revolt. It's Friday, September 13th, and this is Engadget News. OpenAI has unveiled its latest artificial intelligence model called O1, which the company claims can perform complex reasoning tasks more effectively than its predecessors. The release comes as OpenAI faces increasing competition in the race to develop more sophisticated AI systems. OpenAI said on its website that O1 was trained to spend more time thinking through problems before they respond, much like a person would. Through training, the models learn to refine their thinking process, try different strategies, and recognize their mistakes. OpenAI envisions the new model being used by healthcare researchers to annotate cell sequencing data, by physicists to generate mathematical formulas, and software developers. Current AI systems are essentially fancier versions of autocomplete, generating responses through statistics instead of actually thinking through a question, which means that they are less intelligent than they appear to be. When Engadget tried to get ChatGPT and other AI chatbots to solve the New York Times spelling bee, for instance, they fumbled and produced nonsensical results. With O1, the company claims that it is resetting the counter back to 1, with a new kind of AI model designed to actually engage in complex problem-solving and logical thinking. In a blog post detailing the new model, OpenAI said that it performs similarly to PhD students on challenging benchmark tasks in physics, chemistry, and biology, and excels in math and coding. For example, its current flagship model, GPT-4o, correctly solved only 13% of problems in a qualifying exam for the International Mathematics Olympiad, compared to O1, which solved 83%. The new model, however, doesn't include capabilities like web browsing or the ability to upload files and images. And according to The Verge, it's significantly slower at processing prompts compared to GPT-4o. Despite having longer to consider its outputs, O1 hasn't solved the problem of hallucinations, a term for AI models making up information. The company's chief research officer, Bob McGrew, told The Verge, "We can't say we solved hallucinations." O1 is still at a nascent stage. OpenAI calls it a preview and is making it available only to paying ChatGPT customers starting today, with restrictions on how many questions they can ask it per week. In addition, OpenAI is also launching O1 Mini, a slimmed-down version that the company says is particularly effective for coding. A concerning report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine expresses some serious concerns about the future of America's Space Exploration Agency. The report was written by a panel of aerospace experts and lays out what it sees as a possible hollow future for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It addresses issues of underfunding due to declining long-term national emphasis on aeronautics and civil space, an assertion that NASA itself is aware of and agrees with. The report also notes that NASA's problems extend far beyond having enough funding to carry out its missions and operations. Some of the report's core findings suggest areas of concern that could affect the space agency's future. These include a focus on short-term measures without adequate consideration for longer-term needs and implications, reliance on milestone-based purchase of service contracts, and inefficiency due to slow and cumbersome business operations. The report also raised concerns about the current generation of talent being siphoned off by private aerospace companies, and the next generation of engineers not receiving an adequate foundation of knowledge due to our underfunded public school systems. Finally, the report states bluntly that NASA's infrastructure is already well beyond its design life. These and other issues could lead to even more serious problems. Norman Augustine, a former Lockheed Martin chief executive and the report's lead author, told the Washington Post that reliance on the private sector could further erode NASA's workforce, reducing its role to one of oversight instead of problem-solving. Congress could allocate more funds to NASA to address these concerns, but that's not likely since it's constantly struggling to prevent government shutdowns. Instead, Augustine says NASA could focus on prioritizing its efforts on more strategic goals and initiatives. Unity has ditched a controversial fee it was charging game developers. The game engine maker says it's focusing on its seat-based subscription fee, though there will be a price increase for pro and enterprise users. The company announced the runtime fee a year ago. Initially, it was going to make developers pay up every single time someone downloaded one of their games after certain thresholds were met. The backlash was swift and intense, with some industry figures suggesting it would make Unity unviable for indie developers. Many developers, some of whom were years deep into making a game with Unity, were outraged over the sudden change, and some threatened to abandon the engine. Unity apologized a few days later and made some changes to the runtime fee, but the policy was a near disaster for the company. Unity CEO and President John Riccitiello left through the back door the following month. In November, Unity laid off 265 workers in a move it attributed to its Weta Digital deal, but this occurred amid the company's ill-fated attempts to squeeze more revenue from developers. 2 months later, Unity said it would lay off 1,800 more people, about a quarter of its total workforce. Current CEO Matt Bromberg, who took on the role in May, is hoping to rebuild trust with developers by abandoning a loathed pricing model. The runtime fee is gone, effective immediately. The Unity Personal Plan will remain free for developers with under $200,000 in revenue and funding. They'll also have the option to remove the Made with Unity splash screen from their games starting with Unity 6, which will arrive later this year. Thanks for listening. There's more to these stories and additional articles at Engadget.com. This episode featured journalism from senior editor Pranav Dixit and contributors Danny Gallagher and Chris Holt, and was voiced and produced from the boutique sound studios of Spoken Layer. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll be back on Monday with more tech news from Engadget.